Okay, everybody, so welcome back, and let's look at another tool. This time we're going to look at the zoom in or magnify the screen feature. All right, so what this does, just to kind of give you an idea, if let's say we're looking at my screen, right, and I am a student with low vision, and the default, is just too small, and I need it to be, just a little bit bigger so that way it's easier for me to be able to read the text. There are several different ways that we can do it, and some are actually shortcuts. So for example, if I hold down the control button on my keyboard and then I hit the plus sign, this does zoom into the Chrome browser, as you can tell, right? So if I keep going, it does zoom. Now, the issue with this though is all it does is it just zooms the view of the browser. If I look at the icons, right, on these bookmarks, those stayed the default size. And then if I minimize my browser, everything else still looks the same, right? It's still the same size. So zooming into the browser is okay if you want to just read what's in the browser, but it doesn't zoom in the screen. And so that's what I'm going to do right now. Is I'm going to show you all how to be able to zoom everything in the whole entire view of the Chromebook. Okay, and there are a couple of different ways to do it. I'm going to show you. I'm going to jump around, and then you can see what it is that's more effective for the needs of the student. Okay, so since we have already turned on the accessibility features, right, and that was in the previous video, I'm going to go down here to the menu. Okay, so from the menu, I have our accessibility icon already there. So if I drop this down right here, I can see all of these options. Okay, I see Chromevox, and that's the next video that we're going to be looking at. Also select to speak, that's going to be one of the other videos. We have dictation, high contrast. This is actually one of the features that's available. And then what we have also is the full screen magnifier, and then what's called the docked magnifier. Okay, so these are three of the tools that we're going to look at, and then I'm going to see if there's anything else. No, the other one's not here. So what I'm going to do, instead of clicking on them from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the settings, okay, the little gear icon, just so that way you can see what is also available in addition to the ones that are there in that menu. Okay, so from settings, oops, close it out by accident. So I'm going to go into settings. So from here on the left side, I have the advanced header. So I'm going to click on advanced, and then I'm going to click on accessibility. Okay, so now we have already turned that on previously, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this menu right here that says manage accessibility features. I'm going to drop that down, and then I'm going to look at the heading. So this is text to speech. Those are the next few videos that we're going to look at, but not at this point. What we want to do is we want to look at display. Okay, so display. Here, high contrast mode, we had that in the other options. So high contrast mode is available to us right there. Full screen magnifier, that's also available to us. And then enable docked magnifier, that's also available to us. What I'm going to do before I go into those is I'm going to actually show you another feature. So you can go into the appearance settings, right? This one, if I click on it, what it does is it actually opens up the Chrome browser. Here from the appearance, you can actually change the font size, right? So it defaults to medium, but if I wanted to change it to very large, you can do that. And again, it does pretty much what I had showed you a little while ago. If you held down the control and then the plus sign or control minus, so doing that, it'll expand or not expand, it'll make the font larger or it'll make the font smaller. If you do control 0, it sets it back to default. So it does something similar to that. So I'm going to change that to medium, right? By changing the font, but it doesn't change the size of the icons or anything else, right? Now, that's the font size. We can also change the font. So if we want something that's, it's sans serif or something that's easier visually, we can change that. And then here is the page zoom. So let's say I change this to 200. Okay, so that same thing, it changes the appearance, but it doesn't change like the size of the icons, right? That's still going to be tough for somebody that that does have low vision to look, because they're still going to have to scan for these that stayed small. Okay, so but I just wanted to show y'all that those features as well. So appearance is exactly that. It's just the appearance. Okay, so now let me go back to accessibility, and we were in here, and we are back in display now. Okay, so we looked at this. The other thing we can do is we can open the display device settings. Okay, so this adjusts your screen resolution. So if I click on that, okay, here again I could change the font size. Okay, so if I change it to 150% and I let go, this actually does change, as you can tell. So it changes the way this looks, but it also changes the icons. You see how these got bigger? So this is actually a better solution for somebody who does have low vision, because now, you know, everything becomes bigger. It's not just the text, the font size or the pitch of the text on the browser. It's actually everything gets bigger, which is really good for students who have low vision. So now that's right here, display size. I'm going to change it back to the default, which is 100%. Okay, so that's the display setting. You can also change the orientation of it. I'm not going to do it right now, but if a student, I don't know, needed to set their Chromebook sideways, you could change the orientation of the display. All right, so the other things that you can set here is like the night light. So what that does is it kind of takes away that blue light, and it's easier for the students to see. So that's available there too if you ever needed to do that. Okay, I'm gonna leave that off. The other things, I think that's pretty much it for display. So that was, again, down here on the display heading. Let me move this over and make this bigger so we can see. Okay, so I went into settings, and then I hit advanced, and then I went into accessibility, and then I looked for display. Okay, so these are the two that we just looked at right now. Let me expand this a little bit lower. So we looked at these two. Now, up here on the top, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the high contrast mode. So high contrast, it's a little different from the night mode. So with night mode, let me go back into it again just so that way you could compare. Okay, so if I open display settings, here is the night light. So if I turn on night light, it does this, right? It turns it, it takes away some of that blue light. Okay, now that is different from the, let me turn this one off. That is different from high contrast mode, which is, it actually inverts the colors. Okay, so this is for maybe students who have dyslexia, and maybe they need to see the darker colors on top of the lighter colors, right? There are different types of vision needs where something like that might be useful for them. Okay, so I'm going to launch the high contrast mode. Okay, so see how that looks? That looks like the negative, right? So now we have the white letters with the black or the dark background. Okay, so that's high contrast mode, which is different from the night light. Okay, so now let's get into the magnifier tools. So there are two ways, and the first one I'm going to show you is the full screen magnifier. So kind of like when we went into the appearance and we enlarged everything, right? That was a this one right here. When we used page zoom, okay, that's pretty similar. And you see how with page zoom we can go from 100%, which is default, all the way up to 500%. So we can zoom in 500%, right, and make it really big. Now, going back into accessibility features, so enable full screen magnifier is similar to that. So when I turn it on, and you have to be really careful because right now it's zoomed in to 2 times. Okay, so it's 2 times magnification. It could actually go to 12 times, actually even higher than that. It can go to 20 times magnification. So if it's set up really, really high and magnified, you're gonna lose your spot in the screen, kind of like see, and then you'll have to scan around to find where you are in the screen. So that is the negative. That's one of the cons of using full screen magnification. So be careful with that. I would probably use the next feature that I'm going to show you before you would use this one. But if, let's say, by accident you did zoom into 20%, it's going to be really zoomed in. So what you're going to have to do to try to find out where you're at is you're going to move your cursor either to the left, to the right of the screen or to the left. So when I get close to the edge, whichever edge I'm trying to go to, up or down, it's going to pan, right? So that's how you're going to have to look around until you find out and you get oriented to where you want it to be. Okay, so right here I can tell I'm at the bottom left. So I guess the easiest way to find your place back is, place your cursor at the bottom right of the screen, and then you'll end up at the bottom right of the screen, or you can do the same for the top left or to the top right, right? So yeah, be very careful with this because it's very easy to lose yourself. So then to turn it off, you have to eventually find yourself back to enable full screen magnifier and then turn it off, and then you're back to the default setting, which is 100%, right? So be careful with that one. Enable full screen magnifier, because if it's set to a really strong magnification, you're going to be in the screen, like, maybe just right here. And so you're going to have to like pan around until you start finding where you are on the screen. So what I do instead is I would use what's called the enabled dock magnifier. So what this does, as soon as we turn it on, it still magnifies, but what it does is on the top third of the screen, that's what's magnified. So it's kind of like, think of it like a magnifying glass, but in this case, it's a band, right? And it's on the top third of the screen. So the bottom 2/3 of the screen is a screen like regular, right? Now what gets magnified is what's on top of the cursor. So as you move the cursor around, so like let's say I wanted to magnify into this sentence right here, use high contrast mode. Since my cursor is right there, I can just look at the top third and I can see it magnified, right, to whatever power I set it at. If I wanted to look closer over here at this icon with the dots, I just move my cursor down there to that area, and then I can look on the top third of my screen, and then I could see what it is that's magnified. Okay, and if I needed to magnify even more, because right now it's just set to 2 times power, right, to twice magnification, I can just drop it down, and let's say I wanted it at 10 times power. So now it's really zoomed in, right? So now I can really see a lot of detail. So let's say I wanted to see that, right? And I don't know if there's going to be students that are going to need this much zooming in, but you do have the ability to control how much gets zoomed in, maybe 6 times power. And if a student does need, if they're low vision and they do need this much magnification, more than likely it's going to have whatever power they need written in their IEP. Okay, so this is what I would use, enabled docked magnifier. Okay, so that's the end of this video. What I'm going to do now is, this is time for you to practice. So this video is going to end. Go ahead and get on your Chromebook and practice the display settings. Okay, so since we did turn it on, click on the menu and then click on accessibility. And then here you'll see the high contrast mode, right? So that's the one that inverts the dark with the light. And then you'll see the full screen magnifier. Again, this is the one that you have to be very careful because you could really quickly lose where you are in the screen because it's going to zoom in really fast. The docked magnifier is the one that I recommend you use because it's just going to have the top third magnified, and the bottom 2/3 is where you can move your cursor and tell the magnifier what to magnify into. All right. And then if you want to look at the other features, click on the settings, the gear icon. And then when this window pops up, on the left side, go to advanced, right? And expand advanced, and then go into accessibility. Okay, and then when accessibility opens up over here, go into manage accessibility features, and then look for the section called display, because that's what we're in right now. Okay, display. And here are the same. So high contrast was available in that menu. Full screen magnifier was available in the menu. Be careful with that one. The docked magnifier was also available in the menu. These are the ones that aren't. So you can open the display device settings, and then you could open the appearance settings. Okay, so go ahead and take time and test these screen magnification features.